Welcome to our weekly tech review, where we explore the latest trends, news, and updates from the world of technology. This podcast is the perfect source for staying up to date with what is important to know right now. With me today, I have Vincent from Upday, I have Henrike from Free Tech Academy, and I have myself, Tarek, from Ideas Engineering. Yeah, let's keep it this way. You can watch all episodes on YouTube or listen to us on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcast while you work out, drive, or maybe even travel through space. And with this being said, let's jump into the news. And today we will start with Henrike and some news about... Where is it? This one? TikTok.
Yes. So this article from TechCrunch is about TikTok launching a new program that is called Elevate, with which they want to identify and support new artists in the music industry. Their goal is to help musicians build a sustainable career beyond one-hit wonders. And they select signed and unsigned artists from various music genres on a global scale. They want to offer them resources in the app, but also in the real world, which should include early access to new features and support from the TikTok official socials handles. And the program will feature exclusive performances from the artists in their hometowns that will be filmed then for a content series on TikTok. The first class of artists that they also mention in this article are also listed there. Chinchilla, Sam Barbara, Isabella La Rosa. Never heard from any of them. So definitely names. Not yet part of my algorithm bubble on TikTok. But what they do, they officially partner with Warner Music Group for that, and then have this mutual benefits for Warner Music to get also a broader user base from TikTok and share marketing opportunities, etc., etc. What else did they mention? I think basically just that they try, obviously, with this initiative to compete with other streaming platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music to really just extend their portfolio and hopefully get a bigger part of the pie, so to say. Yeah, and so I thought, TikTok is a music platform already. Nevertheless, I thought it's an interesting next step for them to connect that with big music corporates, or probably it's more interesting for Warner Music actually than it is for TikTok, but nevertheless, that's the news.
Yeah, again, TikTok is trying to grab their space in the music industry
even more. I mean, it's a kind of, for unsigned artists, it's actually really attractive, you know.
And I remember, back then with, who was it? I think Macklemore, who started on YouTube and really boomed on YouTube and became a world famous star without having a big contract with a label, right? And so I could imagine.
On YouTube?
I think he was a real big artist, going viral on YouTube and got millions of views, even before he was a signed. Is he today? I don't know.
What was the other music platform where a lot of SoundCloud, have been discovered? I mean, this is just now the next example. Right now, it's probably going to be TikTok and not YouTube anymore, or SoundCloud.
Yeah. Yeah, but
makes sense though.
Right. In terms of discoverability, it's amazing what TikTok can do, because the algorithm simply pushes those to the front who get viral, right?
I just wanted to say exactly. The algorithm obviously can do a lot for recommendation, and personalization algorithms can do a lot for unsigned artists. So therefore, it is the question is, where do the additional costs that come with the share that TikTok keeps for making all of this possible lie, right? Is it maybe, will it backfire on the small creators that are creating something and then again have to, I don't know, maybe in the future a label will come up with some kind of a discovery fee that is due to be paid by a small artist / maybe something that will deduct from the sales they're making on Spotify and co. On the other hand, maybe the big labels will just cover this fee because there's some kind of a fixed cost, some kind of sunk cost. They just have to do some kind of investment in order to explore that. We also see, I think, that a lot of songs are made just for TikTok, right? So we know a lot of songs have a very... When you listen to a song, often there's this one TikTok moment that you know from the videos, from the viral hit, that potentially also was paid for, right? And then the song turns into something else or just changes again. And I think that also this we will see more, which then again brings up the question if music is something that you can calculate in that specific way, just like we know that there's going to be a summer hit that everybody listens over the summer and then it will go down when it cools off. So we'll see. I have the fear that in the end, not the big labels will carry those costs. But we'll see.
And of course, as you said, backfiring is a good word for this, because on the one hand, it's great to have small creators or small like rising stars being supported by TikTok. But in terms of monetization, I think this is also something where the labels are going to pay a lot of money to TikTok to organically push their artists to the top without having them like labeled as commercials or advertising. And so I think this will be another really, really big pot of money that they are going to make with this, because everyone is on TikTok. And so being pushed on TikTok might be the most profitable thing for an artist. And so it might happen that I, as not a small artist, but someone with a big label behind me, will be the one who benefits most from this new mechanism.
I actually just remembered that I meant MySpace as the other platform where a lot of artists have been discovered back in the days.
Back in the days.
MySpace.
MySpace, yes, of course.
Never been there, but yeah.
Really?
I skipped that one. Yeah.
Oh, I had a beautiful MySpace page. It was so amazing with all these custom CSS and GIFs and animations and everything.
I can imagine.
All right. Let's jump. Oh, wait.
And now, this.
It's been a while. Let's jump to the next article from Vincent.
Yeah, so this is about Threads, the new Twitter opponent from Meta, and it's been rolled out everywhere around the globe except for Europe by now. And Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, that is also responsible for Threads, says that will take a while to actually go here with the new regulations of the Digital Markets Act. We will see that Threads will take even more time to be delivered here in Europe. And the reason for that is, in the end, data privacy and also this act that tries to make it harder for monopoles to form. And since Threads is only available via Instagram currently, and as far as I understand, is also very much intertwined with that, it really much is not compiling in the way that this act wants it, as far as I understood. Also, there are some data privacy discussions around that I'm not 100% aware of. However, this means that it will not take a few weeks as we expected first, or just a few very small and short months. And it might take a while before Threads will actually enter the European market, because it is, as far as I understand, very much contradictory to the strategy of Threads being rolled out. I mean, the power of Threads in the first week now was or is something that we specific 2 weeks now is something that we specifically see because it is connected to your Instagram account. So we see this extreme wave of signups just due to the fact that there was a hype about it. You didn't have to create a new account. Instagram is on your phone. You download Threads, you're in. Easy, just like with Facebook and WhatsApp. So that is something that is very contradictory, and therefore we don't know what they will do with it. I'm sure the European market is a very interesting market for Instagram and Threads. However, as long as Threads is not monetized, the European market is still attractive, of course. But then again, as long as it's not monetized, the big argument to go into Europe to make a big buck, well, that is just not existing there. Of course, then again, you could also say, well, there's a ramp-up period you need to just take in order to actually be able to monetize. And yeah, therefore we'll see what Instagram does to make sure the product Threads is rolled out right here in Europe. Beyond that, they see that retention is better, usage is better. It's been going down around 50%, I think, the usage. I think also a third of the users. Tarek, if you could scroll a bit, we will see the number. I think around about 30% of the users left again, maybe a bit deeper, maybe a bit below. Here it is. Active users has around 20% declined, and average time spent shrunk about a half. But the head of Instagram took this head on and said that it is de facto better than they expected. And of course, when you have such a huge hype about something and everyone can sign up, it doesn't take a lot of, what is it called? It doesn't take a lot of engagement in order to sign up, right? I mean, I don't know, let's take this horrible social media platform that's like Twitter that everybody spoke about for a day or two, and then it just went away again.
Mastodon?
Yeah, Mastodon, but this is more like still coming. I'm talking about something else, but it doesn't matter. What I want to say is, all of these platforms, right, if you sign up there, you're willing to engage. With Instagram, it's different, right? You sign up with Threads, it's different. You sign up with your Instagram account, it's already there. You try it out. Maybe once you delete the app or you don't do anything else. I don't know. The answer is, I think it is very likely that we will see this go down even more. But it looks like that Instagram, not naming any specific numbers, Instagram did expect that, Meta did expect that, and are really happy with the results. So good for them. Not so good for the European users. Even VPNs are shut down. Even I, that downloaded from the American App Store, a US App Store with a US Apple ID, still also have kind of access, kind of not. I can see my home feed, but I cannot see comments, for example. So they're trying really to keep European users out of the app. And I think just because if too many are on Threads, they will just run into penalty. I think somewhere, and then I'm done with it, I'm sorry, somewhere in the article also says that around 50 million users are in Europe. No, that can't be right. Saying it out loud, 50 is too much. But there is an amount of, like a decent amount of people also from Europe interested in that. And therefore, I think Meta just is really scared currently that they have to pay some kind of a penalty if they let this keep going on. I mean, it's 2 weeks in, so I don't think they have that much to worry about.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to see who is going to take the lead there, because for such a long time, Twitter was the only real big player there, and everyone who wanted to get subscribed to went to Twitter. And now that there are actually so many players on the market, it's curious to see if this is going to stay, this split it up, this separated, or if there is going to be a new player. And I actually didn't think that Instagram is going to be that popular, because it's so close to Facebook or Meta, and people usually, so many people dislike this company for their privacy policies and do not want to start working with the network like that. And so probably, as you said, it's a question of convenience, and people who want to leave Twitter and have this already on their phone, why not?
I mean, we already knew before it was launched that Meta will just wait for the perfect moment to launch this. It looked like this was in their shelf, or whatever you call it, right in there. They were waiting with it. It was kind of ready to be launched. They launched it in a state where they publicly say, this is a test. We have more to come, right? I mean, there's much more features to be built in to compete with Twitter. It doesn't have a desktop page. That is a big minus against Twitter, because obviously that is something that a lot of people who use Twitter use, right? The desktop version of it. Media, for example, Threads is not really attractive for media currently, just because of the way it does it. But Twitter also develops in a really bad way currently. I mean, you look at that. If you use the Twitter board, which now it has to be paid for, and Twitter does a lot of interesting things. And so I think Threads just came out just as Meta intended it to work. Like, Threads came out in the perfect timing for people to try out. And right now, I mean, using the app myself quite a bit, seeing the development, I think that right now Meta shareholders who really try, and I brought another article for the next week. I think I will bring one about how Meta is losing a lot of money on the other end. I think Meta shareholders are really pushing for a product that is easy to do and brings in money. And I think Threads could be that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the timing is now, because now Twitter is like on the ground and everyone is fighting to take their position, right? So waiting until Twitter is back, not a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And now, this.
Let's jump to some generative AI, because this is kind of the
because why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's like 99% of my personal news feed is right now generative AI.
It's the first time, like, we haven't heard this the whole episode. That's kind of weird.
That's true.
I mean, for weeks we have been. I mean, every article was around that, and now it's good.
Yeah, but I mean, Media and TechCon, where we were present, we were all talking about generative AI, and so it's not that I don't talk a lot about this. But the latest news are coming from Ars Technica, and Meta. Yeah, we just talked about Meta. Meta launches Llama 2. A source available AI model that allows commercial applications. And this is great, big news, because so far the big players, namely Microsoft and OpenAI, they are a closed source system where everything is very much protected. But now Meta has announced Llama 2, which is a new family of AI language models. And this one is notable for its commercial license, allowing integration into commercial products, unlike the predecessors from OpenAI. And these models range from in their size from 7 to 70 billion parameters, and reportedly outperform other open source chat models on most of their benchmarks. And the Llama 2 pre-trained models are trained on 2 trillion tokens with a context window of 4,000, around about 4,000 tokens. So it's comparable with the sizes of OpenAI. And Llama 2 fine-tuned models developed for chat applications are trained on over 1 million human annotations. And it is stated that Llama 2 doesn't match OpenAI's GPT-4 in performance, but fares well for source-available models. And the word source-available sounds weird. I'm going to explain what this means in detail. Llama 2 is available on Microsoft Azure and will also be available on AWS and Hugging Face and other providers. And this is the big advantage, so that you are not bound by Microsoft Azure, for example, but you can go wherever you want to host it. And Meta has previously released the precursor of Llama 2, the Llama, with non-commercial licenses, but this one was leaked and spread widely, so people already had this. And Llama 2 allows for commercial use, but requires special permission from Meta for licensees with over 700 million active users, and this is the hard part here. Because the problem is, the moment that they limit the commercial use for certain users, they technically can't call it open source anymore, because open source requires you to allow this for all users to be used, and not only for people with a certain property. Yeah, and that's why the critics say that they have to lose this label of open source and call it instead something like source available. So you can access the sources, you can use this in certain types, but for certain commercial applications, you need like a special permission by Meta. But this now shakes up the market of large language models, because now we can seriously start for example, replacing open source open AI resources now with Llama in those use cases where it fits. And we were all waiting for quite some time that this happened now, because we were always playing with these open source alternatives, but so far nothing was really beating OpenAI's models. And at least now, in comparison with ChatGPT, or these GPT 3.5 models that are like the cost-effective solutions by OpenAI, they might be replaced now by Llama, depending on what the next tests will bring. Yeah, but this is really exciting. And finally, we have some source available alternatives on the market.
Tarek, this might be a bit dumb, but could you maybe summarize in just a few sentences what the big difference there is? I mean, we all understand the basic concept of available source code and closed source, but why is this specifically relevant in the field of AI and LLMs? And I have another stupid question also connected to the Azure thing that you mentioned, because I actually watched the announcement of Microsoft that Llama will be coming to Azure, but they did not say Azure only. They said it will be coming to Azure and Microsoft and Windows. And that confused me, because isn't Windows a product produced by Microsoft? Yes, but it is not an interface you run such LLM on. It is more something where you in the end display something like that. So why do they say it comes to Azure? I mean, to Xcode, it would make sense for me in a certain way, even though I'm not working in the field, I'm not a developer like you. But why specifically mention Windows?
Yeah, the first question regarding open source and source available. From a technical point of view, it's not really a big difference. I can access the sources, I can use it for whatever I want to use it. It's just a question of the license. With open source, I can use this for my private projects, I can use this for my commercial projects, and I won't get sued for doing so because nobody has like these exclusive rights. The problem here is that Meta says if you are like a large company with very, very huge demands, and what was the number? 700 something.
Like Android. Everybody can use Android on their mobile device, but if you are making money with it, you have to pay for a license.
And Meta is saying if you have more than 700 million monthly active users, then you need like a special permission or maybe even a special license from Meta to be allowed to use that. And in this moment, it loses this license of open source. So technically, it's not a big difference, but in terms of licensing, it is then a closed license. And so the sources are available. That's why source available. But technically, and I'm not sure who can specifically forbid this or label this, the label open source is not applicable anymore. And so Llama is not applicable to be open source licensed. And for your second question, available on Microsoft Azure is technically just, a question of convenience, because Azure is a cloud provider from Microsoft. And so you can create generic resources there and, for example, install certain LLMs. And so they are going to build up a marketplace like on AWS, where you just create on demand certain technologies, certain instances, certain LLMs for your specific needs. This will be available with different kinds of open source models. Open source meaning Microsoft has the right to use these sources to simply use them within their infrastructure. If it would be closed source, then they would not be able to do that. Like, for example, with the OpenAI models. OpenAI has this specific contract with Microsoft so that Microsoft can offer OpenAI resources on Azure. But AWS does not have the rights to do so. And so when you are on AWS from Amazon, you will not see the option to create OpenAI resources because they have this exclusive contract with Microsoft.
How come, though, that is specifically mentioned? That was a question that I wrote down for us today, that it specifically mentioned it would come to Windows. I mean, I do understand what it does with Azure, but Windows?
Yeah, the Windows question I can't answer. I could speculate that they are planning to create some features based on Llama, even though I wouldn't know why, because they are working with OpenAI stuff. But it could be that they found Llama to be more efficient for some use cases or in terms of resources, so that they use one of these small Llama models for use case X, Y. I don't know. But this is speculation. I don't know why they specifically say Windows, but the only thing that I can think of is that they built up some features based on that.
I'm sorry, this is a Q&A, Tarek. I have one more question. Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Just
the listeners will be interested in this as well.
Just talking about Azure and its connection to OpenAI, we know there has been this really big investment of Microsoft into OpenAI. Yes. We know a big part of it, a big chunk of this investment is actually not cash flow. It is actually, or value, it is time and resources on the Azure servers. Because obviously OpenAI needs a lot of it to develop their engines. Where does Llama run?
I mean, it's developed by Meta. So for now, Meta has like their own computational areas, infrastructure where they are developed this. But technically, they provide this for downloading. So you can run this wherever you want to run this. You could run this on your local machine. You can run this on AWS. You can run this on Azure, wherever you want. This is like, it's a software solution. So you can run it wherever you want to run. It's just, of course, very resource intensive. So
the huge difference in the end is not only that this is open source, it is also a big difference because I'm not forced to use it within the Azure environment.
Right.
So if my business is based on AWS, which a lot of businesses are, we know that, AWS, biggest provider in that field, or if I actually want to work with Oracle, or I have to work with Oracle services, which is just a small chunk of the market, but I technically would, and I need LLMs to function. This is kind of the savior of my current solution, ignoring BART for a moment, which is rolling out bit by bit.
Right, globally. Exactly. Yeah, BART is owned by Google, and so you will have to be part of the Google Cloud to utilize BART, because this is why they are building this. And at the same time, you have OpenAI and Microsoft on the other front, and Amazon, for example, they are not as successful yet with developing their own LLM. They are also developing something like that, but they are not at the forefront. But still, they are creating this marketplace for open source solutions where you can use AWS resources for hosting these open source systems. And therefore, they will still get their market share of users who either do not want to pay Microsoft or Google for their infrastructure because they are very, very costly, or simply want to stay within their AWS ecosystem.
How ironic that specifically the product of Meta, owned by Mark Zuckerberg, right? and which is the whole company, privacy. I would say not focused. They're insane about privacy, right? How ironic is that the first big and reliable solution in that field that actually could be a competitor to the big ones, to BART and specifically OpenAI, comes from Meta, this company that is, again, crazy about privacy, crazy about protection of their products, crazy about all of this. And then they still deliver this open source tool that gives more flexibility than all of the other players. I don't know how I feel about that. It's just crazy.
It might be that this is a strategic move because they lost the race to market. And since now Microsoft and Google are the big players who have their closed solutions already there, maybe it is like their strike to be the third one. And now grabbing everyone with their open source solution simply damaging the market position of the others without providing the same thing, the same technology lock-in that Microsoft and Google have, and simply say, okay, we are not the first to market, but we are the first big open source solution on to market. So everyone who does not want to work with closed systems now goes to Meta. Yeah, so this might be a genius strike on hitting the others where it hurts most. On their exclusivity.
You can compare it a bit with compare it a bit with the race to the personal computer, right? I mean, think about Apple just delivering their Mac OS systems, and back then there still was IBM with their personal computer and their personal computer system, not licensing out their software. And then there's Microsoft that, partners with Compaq and all of the other small providers that in the end made the race. It's so interesting to I know I'm stretching out the podcast. We need to be done with this. I know. I just want to stress how much I like this open battle currently that now it seems even more balanced. Right.
All right. But I think we are through with our time. Thank you everyone for tuning into TechReview. I think it's episode 71 already. And see you and hear you next week. Bye.
On the flip side. Bye.